Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is dustinkreis and I got another game discussion for you today. This is a game that I kind of drug my feet on getting. But on the other hand, because I only picked up a PS3 last year, you know, I sort of have a reason for not being able to play this game because it is a PS3 exclusive. And that is Uncharted Drake's Fortune. And of course this is the greatest hits version. I picked up the Uncharted Dual Pack, where you get both Uncharted and Uncharted 2 for $40. Because actually it was cheaper to do that than it was to buy the games used. So I went ahead and got that, and then like a couple weeks later, you know, GameStop did their buy two get one free used deal, and I was like, oh. But anyway, so I have them in their ugly red cases, but you know, I'm getting close to 30 here. I'm not really caring much anymore about this stuff. This is kind of a, you know, the whole thing about greatest hits. Who cares? As long as the games are still in print. You know what I mean? Greatest hits, I think, are a good thing in some ways. You know, when it's games like Uncharted, where there's about, you know, 40 copies of this game used in its regular edition, I don't really think this really needs to be a greatest hits. You know, but games that are rare and kind of going out of print, you know, it's nice that they do this. Like, you know, Symphony of the Night, fantastic that there's a greatest hits version. That means more people can get a hold of a copy of that game. You know, people, oh, well, it's got the green on it, I don't really like it. But, you know, I have the greatest hits version of that game. If I didn't have the greatest hits, or if there was no greatest hits version of that game, I wouldn't have the game. You know what I mean? Because I found it at a Babbage's. That's how, or was it Babbage's, or was it GameStop then? Or EB Games. I can't remember. But I think it was still Babbage's at the time. But I found it there, and I picked it up, and thanks to that, I have a copy of that game. So I do like greatest hits on one, you know, on one side, but on the other side, you know, they put it in these really horrific looking cases. But whatever. It's the game that matters, not the case. And I really enjoyed my time with this. I'm really looking forward to Uncharted 2. There are hiccups in this, and I will talk about them when we get there, but, you know, supposedly everything's been refined for Uncharted 2 and 3, so I'm really looking forward to those games. You know, this game is a action-adventure type game. Reminded me a lot of Enslaved in Prince of Persia in a way, because it's really about kind of, I mean, there's action, there's gunplay and stuff like that, but it's really about figuring out how to get around in the environments. And the storyline, I really enjoyed that. It involves this man right here, Nathan Drake, who is a descendant of the, you know, the famous Drake of history, and he is on the search for the golden city of El Dorado, which, of course, there is a twist in the game. El Dorado is not actually a city; it's actually an item, and you know, it involves him, this journalist Elena, and then his friend Sullivan, who may or may not be trustworthy. And I think everyone's played Uncharted or knows the story, so I don't think I'm really spoiling anything with it. But I really enjoyed my time with Nathan Drake. I think he's a great character, and after playing this game, in my opinion, there is an Uncharted movie coming up. The only person that can play this guy is either the voice actor who played him in the game. Can't remember his name, but he also did the voice of Raphael in TMNT, the new TMNT movie, and you're all like screaming at the screen right now. I can't remember his name. I should probably reshoot this video and go look, but you guys all are screaming at the screen, so you guys know it. But either him or Nathan Fillion. I really think Nathan Fillion would do an excellent job in this role. He might be a little too old, some people would say, but I would like Nathan Fillion in anything after watching Firefly and Serenity. But yeah, I really enjoyed this character. He's you know, a wisecracking, doesn't always, you know, come up on top type of character. You know, he's kind of an underdog. He's a lucky underdog though. But I really like the back and forth between him and Elena, and you know, the sort of the questionable friendship between him and Sullivan. You know, he trusts Sullivan in the beginning, but then there's an event that happens in the game where he kind of loses trust in him, and then by the end, you know, we're all back to square one. But you know, it's really fun. The villains are the villains are okay. They're not really that developed. You only get to see them in little bursts, but that's kind of typical for these types of games. I really did enjoy the scene though, where I can't remember that character's name, but they're getting ready to face down the sort of supernatural element of the game, and he's like, Drake, I just want you to know that if we don't make it through this, I hate your guts. And I started laughing really hard because it was just the way that the line was delivered and the setting they were in. But yeah, the storyline kept me involved. It kept me energized. I always liked the little twists and turns of it. It's not an RPG story, but for an action type game, it is one of the better stories out there. The gameplay, like I said, it reminds me a lot of Prince of Persia and Enslaved in that you're hopping around on stones and ledges and things like that. I only had a few problems with the jumping around from cliff to cliff. Sometimes I felt like I was putting the control stick in the right direction and I'd hit the jump button and Drake would jump in a completely different direction. It didn't seem like... These were minor things. It only happened a few times, but it just, when you get to the 3D jumping and things like that, it can get a little wonky every now and then. The gunplay it reminded me, of course, a lot of Gears of War in that it's a cover shooter, but Gears of War is a much better cover shooter. Like the shooting, I think everyone knows by now that the shooting in the first Uncharted game is not the best. Sometimes it's hard to line up your shots. I know a few times where I would jump out of cover and go to aim. It'd be the wrong perspective because you can press on one of the control sticks to change the camera perspective from behind the left shoulder to behind the right shoulder, and I'd pop out and it'd be behind the wrong shoulder and I'd have to click that button to get the right shoulder, and then in the intervening time I got gunned down by somebody with a Desert Eagle gun, which is like a one-hit kill. So there are some frustrations with the gameplay. It's not perfect. I hear that everyone says that it's more refined in the second game, so I'm looking forward to that and looking forward to that experience. But for the most part, I didn't really have a big problem with it. I didn't really have a big problem with the duck and cover type shooting until like the last boss battle, which of course he has a shotgun and it's a one-hit kill if he hits you, and then you have all these other guys with machine guns firing on you, so it's pretty hectic. But it never got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm done with this game. It's too messed up. There is a level of polish there that I think works really well. It got a little hectic because when you're fighting the human enemies of the game, the shooting is okay. I mean, it's good. You have a back and forth with these enemies. When you get to sort of the supernatural enemies in the game, which happens once they find El Dorado and you see what it is and what it actually does, those enemies move very quick and they're undeterred by bullet fire. So in a lot of ways, when it gets to a certain point in the game, it's going to feel like kind of Resident Evil 4, but without Resident Evil 4's... I didn't really feel like I could pull up my gun and fire on these enemies quick enough to take them down before they got on me. Now, every so often you'll get a machine gun, and the machine guns don't really have a lot of stopping power. So these things are coming towards you, and you're like, oh shit, 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 shit. And every now and then you get off a lucky headshot and take them down. But for the most part, you're going to do a lot of ducking and diving to sort of get some distance from these enemies, because they close in on you very fast and they will kill you extremely fast. So in a lot of ways, I feel like the shooting was more designed for the fighting of human enemies and not so much when you fight sort of the supernatural enemies towards the end. I know there's a scene where how to describe this? I don't care about spoiling it. Everyone kind of knows about Uncharted right now. But there's a scene where they're lifting El Dorado out by a helicopter, and you have to run down through this area where all these monsters are coming out of the woodwork, and you have to basically run and gun with a shotgun, and then you start climbing the stairs, and then there's normal enemies with shotguns there, and you have to take them out. That area I got stuck on quite a bit because it would seem like if you don't hold down the... I don't have the PlayStation. Oh, there it is. There we go. If you don't hold down the aim button, if you just hit the fire button, Drake will run and gun. And it's pretty accurate. He basically auto-targets the nearest enemy. So you just kind of run through it and just auto-target the enemies. But then when you get to the guys that can actually fire guns back, you kind of need to be a little bit more... I don't want to say strategic with it, but you need to be a little bit more on the ball and make sure you get off your shots before they fire on you, because those shotguns at close range will kill you in one shot. So I had to go through that a few times. There's a few platforming instances where I had to go through a few times because I just couldn't figure... The game has a hint system where it has you press L2 and it shows you where you're supposed to go. But it's not like Enslaved, which basically made all the ledges you can jump on kind of glitter and blink so you know where you're supposed to go. This game really kind of lets you figure it out for yourself. Another thing about the gameplay is they hide all these treasures that you're supposed to find in there. I didn't find hardly... Well, I think I might have found about half of them, maybe. But I don't know what all that unlocks when you find them all. You get trophies as you unlock them, but I don't know if it unlocks like a bunch of bonus stuff at the end. But there is that for completists if you want to go through and try to find all the hidden items. But yeah, for the most part, the gameplay I really enjoyed. There are some hiccups that, you know, are easily fixed for the next installment, which I hear they are. The graphics... The graphics are kind of a mixed bag now. When this game came out, it looked phenomenal. But you know, we're how many years into, like 5 years into the PS3, the graphics kind of have a weird waxy quality to the characters. The expressions on the faces are kind of weird and exaggerated a little bit. But you know, if you stop and look back at the graphics for its day, when that came out, you know, people were like, oh my god, that's crazy. And you know, in a lot of ways, the graphics still really do impress. I'm saying a lot. When you are in the environments, I did it again. When you're in the environments, everything looks very nice and clear. I remember walking through the jungle and thinking, my god, Naughty Dog can make an awesome Jurassic Park game. I got this feeling of being at Jurassic Park sometime. I don't know. It's a weird thing, but whenever I see jungle, I always think of Jurassic Park because it was a big movie when I was a kid. And my wife's watching Lost right now, and it reminded me a lot of Lost as well. So the environments are really, really nice, really richly detailed, but the character models are what you're dealing with most of the time, and they have a waxy quality to them. I mean, they look like if you held a lighter close to them, they would start melting. But again, this was an early PS3 game, and I'm fully expecting that with Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 3, the graphics are just going to go even higher. So, not a big deal. The graphics still look amazing. There's actually some really cool sequences in this game. I remember there's a sequence, if you guys have seen the new Indiana Jones movie, newish Indiana Jones movie, which, you know, we're not going to talk about that. But anyway, talking about that movie is a video unto itself. But there was a big scene in this that really impressed me, and I really enjoyed it, and it reminded me a lot of that movie. It was when Elena is driving the Jeep and you're firing the grenade gun, and you have to try to destroy, you know, the enemies in this game have just basically unlimited motorcycles and, you know, trucks on this little island. I don't know how they got them all there, but you're just firing the grenades and whipping through the jungle, and it was a really cool sequence. So graphically, it really kind of impressed me with the speed and, you know, blowing up all these little guys on motorcycles. It was really cool. The music, to be honest with you, for the most part, especially now, it's been a day since I played the game. The music is not really that memorable because most of the time you're firing guns, you're jumping off cliffs. Every now and then the music swells and it's really, cool and awesome, but for the most part, the audio is really, what you really use the audio for is listening for enemy chatter and, you know, little things like that. That being said, I found the audio to be very nice with the gunshots. All the guns sounded very weighty and appropriately loud. You can usually tell when there's enemies around the corner by listening closely to hearing, you know, speech and stuff like that. So, and when it gets to the end, with the creepiness and kind of being almost like a Resident Evil game, the audio really goes away to selling how creepy these enemies are. By you're always hearing them kind of and hearing them scraggle around and stuff like that. And that kind of stuff really goes a long way to selling that creepy environment of the, you know, the old German Nazi facility there. It's all run down, and there's nothing really creepier than an old, you know, old building that has like concrete cancer and you know, rusted pipes and just water on the floor. That's one of the most creepy environments I think you can be in, and Naughty Dog really did a good job at the end of the game to making that, you know, really creepy and, you know, really kind of scary. You know, you have a flashlight and it's dark and these things are just, you know, jumping around all the time. Really, really enjoyable towards the end. I was playing late at night and I was like, oh Jesus, this is kind of scary. But anyway, those are my thoughts on Uncharted. A very good game. If you guys have a PS3 and you haven't played the first Uncharted game, I would say, you know, go out and give it a shot. You can find it for pretty cheap, used. It's, you know, easy to find. I really enjoyed my time with it. I was, you know, playing it, and something big would happen. I'd be like, oh man, that's great, you know. And I'm really looking forward to Uncharted 2, and then I know I'll be looking forward to Uncharted 3 whenever I decide to pick that up. But I wanted to play an action game. After playing Shin Megami Tensei Digital Devil Saga, I was a little burned out on RPGs, so I played an action game to sort of, you know, refresh my palate a little bit. And now that I got this done, I've gone old school. And it looks like we're going to go old school for the next game discussion video and for the one after that. I'm not going to say what games I'm playing. I'm just going to say right now I'm currently playing a Super Nintendo game, and then up next will be an N64 game. So those are going to be the ones that I'm newly playing. I don't know if I'll do a retro game discussion where I talk about like a game I've beat before the channel started. I have an idea for one, but you know, I don't know exactly what's going to be coming up next. But that is it for this game discussion video. Uncharted, fantastic game. One of the reasons to own a PS3. Because when you really get down to it, there's really no difference between the PS3 and the Xbox 360 other than the exclusive games for this system. And this is one of the exclusive games that really sells the system well. So if you guys haven't checked out Uncharted and you have a PS3, go check out one of these games. They're a lot of fun. I really enjoyed my time with it. They're not long games. I beat this in a couple of days. You know, just kind of long playthroughs, so you can get through them very quickly. And I have a huge crush on Elena now, so hopefully they keep her around and keep her in the games. I think they do, but you know, it's kind of weird talking about, you know, crushes on video game characters, but you know, in a lot of ways they're real people unto themselves. You know, I mean, it's no different than watching a movie and seeing Jennifer Aniston. I mean, you know, Elena in this game is about as real as Jennifer Aniston is to me. So, you know, what's the difference? There really isn't one when you think about it. So, yep, Uncharted, fantastic game. Looking forward to playing the second one. And that is it. So, let me think. What are we going to do next? Got the January pickups video. Probably the next thing will be the Final Fantasy 13-2 unboxing. That comes out in a few days, and I'll do that, and I'll get on my soapbox about Final Fantasy and talk about that. I've actually talked about the Final Fantasy series in great depth. Well, not great depth, because it was early in the channel and I had that time limit on my videos, so I had to break it up into 3 parts. So I might reshoot those early discussions on Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy. But if you kind of want to get some quick impressions of what I think about all the Final Fantasy series up till 13, go to my channel and scroll way down, and you'll see a Final Fantasy series discussion. You'll see a Dragon Quest series discussion. I might reshoot those again, like I said, because I can do longer videos now. I have an Ys discussion coming up. I've played all the Ys games except for 4 and 5, which of course are in Japanese. So But I do want to talk about the Ys series a little bit because it's one of my new loves. And I do kind of want to talk about Arc-Rise Fantasia. You know, we got Xenoblade coming out for the Wii, and everyone's kind of been talking about how there's no real RPGs on the Wii. It's an RPG that kind of got a bad rap, and I think, and somewhat fairly, it got a bad rap for its voice acting, but the gameplay and stuff like that is actually really good. And I want to make sure that people don't miss out on that game because they hear bad reviews, because a bunch of professional reviewers are comparing it to like Xbox 360 games and things like that, not really giving it a fair shot on its own. The voice acting is bad, but it's not bad enough to make you stop. Actually, I found it charming, and I was laughing at it, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great game. So, we got all that stuff coming up, but I think I might take a little break from making videos, because like I said, I've made like 14 or 15 videos here in January alone. So, we might take a little break after the Final Fantasy one, and I might just play a bunch of games, and then vomit again on YouTube with a bunch of game discussion videos. So we'll see how it goes. I don't know. I always say I'm going to take a break and then I never do. So that is it for this video. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, like the video, comment below, tell me what you thought about Uncharted. You know, don't spoil any of the sequel stories for me because I really want to kind of experience them on their own. But let me know what you think of the series in general, and I'll see all you guys next time. Take care and thanks for watching.